Hi everyone, I'm Dana Kohut, founder of the Prime View series of interviews with top technology and business leaders. Today I'm delighted to host Aaron Erickson, who is author of a book called Nomadic Developer, and since recently he has joined a new company called New Relic as VP of Engineering. Aaron, thank you so much for joining me today. And my first question to you is, could you share your career path, the steps that you have taken to get where you're now? Thank you.
I'm Aaron Erickson. I am the Vice President of Engineering at New Relic, working on their core data platform. My path that led here is actually a little bit of an interesting path. So I spent pretty much the time period between 1995 and 2012, so whatever number of years that is, if my math works, about 17 years as a software engineer. I spent most of my time thinking about how do I create good designs and good software that will accomplish business goals, all that normal stuff that we care about as engineers, advancing my craft. I got really into agile software development in the 2000s, right around the time the Agile Manifesto came out. And as a consequence of that interest, I joined a company called ThoughtWorks in 2009 with a goal of working with kind of the pioneers of agile software development. So people like Martin Fowler, Neil Ford, and the like. And feel like that jump to that company where I was really working with some of the leaders in the industry about that subject matter, really kind of helped jumpstart, even at that phase of my career, 17 years in, really kind of take my career to another level, where I built a pretty wide network of companies that I would work with, or other kinds of people, different kinds of perspectives, people with global perspectives. My first project at ThoughtWorks was 3 months in China, where I probably learned more about software development as an engineer in those 3 months than maybe the prior 10 years, just learning things like pair programming and stuff like that. And then, so it's funny though, because I did that for a while, and I always had this kind of perspective, which is I care more about why we code than what we code. I cared about what is the problem that we're solving. At the time, we were building software to help international expatriates do taxes, right? Which really interesting domain. I got into working for a couple more clients, and then they asked me to take over one of our bigger engagements at ThoughtWorks, which was working with one of the big cloud companies at the time, Rackspace. And I didn't know I was going into this role at the time. They said, hey, run this big program. It has 120 people in it. Well, it turns out it was a sales role. I didn't know it was a sales role. But all I remember was I was going around the world getting all these engineers to do things that were relevant to the company we were working for. But also, I had a revenue goal. And I didn't know I had one. But then in 2013, they said, hey, your revenue goal is X. I'm like, what's a revenue goal? And so I did that for 3 years. I kind of liked it. I liked the autonomy of finding customers and figuring out what problems they had to solve, and then leveraging the intellectual resources I could around ThoughtWorks to help solve those things. And then I ended up in ended up is the wrong word. I took on a GM role for the West Coast for ThoughtWorks, where I was kind of just more responsible for the P&L of that particular region and division. And then one of my customers, who I'd worked with all the way back at Rackspace, had joined Salesforce and had recruited me into their company to help help on their product side for internal developer productivity stuff. So worked with him for a couple of years doing that. And then really, this opportunity at New Relic came to be over the summer. I'd been meeting with, just kind of informally with some folks. And while I enjoy doing product, which is all about the why, it's all about why does this matter and making sure it's relevant for customers, my heart is in engineering. And it was funny, my old colleague who brought me into Salesforce said every good engineering leader should work in product management for at least a little while, so they gain a stronger perspective on customer needs and prioritization. I feel like that did really well for my career, even here at New Relic, where we have a great product management org. I don't need to do their job, but I can certainly be empathetic towards their perspective in terms of what customers want or don't want.
Well, that's a remarkable career. So you don't feel like your heart is in sales anymore?
No, not one bit. I feel like I was situational, I was like, where could I ever do this job? Because one of the things I'm terrible at is networking with strangers. And thankfully, ThoughtWorks, and it's pretty well known, they have a good incoming pipeline. So all I had to do was really pick up the phone and be nice, and I could close deals. But if you told me to go work in sales in any other company, what do you mean? I got to pick up the phone and call people I don't know? I mean, I'd rather not do that. That just doesn't sound very fun to me. So I quickly had to kind of change my career to be back in tech after that 3-year period.
Aaron, you have a long and successful career in many technologies companies, and I assume you had to hire lots of people for different roles. Maybe you could share your secret of building high-performance teams.
So I can train or teach people technology, and I'm not, it was funny, even all the way back to ThoughtWorks, we would hire people that were curious generalists that had a high intellectual capacity to learn new things, and then expect that they will be very curious learners. So for any kind of role, I am looking for people that care about the why. I'm looking for people that care about what is the impact going to be on the customer. I mean, they have to have the skills, right? I mean, they have to be engineers, right? You can't make somebody an engineer that isn't an engineer. I mean, you can have the boot camps and whatnot, and good luck. But once you kind of meet that bar of you're good at your craft, which I think most people can kind of get to in their first 5 years of their career, I'm deeply interested in people that now care about how do I make this work well for a customer. And the reason I care about that is it moves the motivation from being purely extrinsic motivation, meaning, I'm going to be an engineer to make money. Okay, I mean, let's not BS ourselves. I mean, I think a lot of people go into that for that, and it's fine. But I think the thing that really makes people engaged is caring about the customer problem and not being very impatient about solving that and wanting to get that satisfaction that you made somebody's life better. And if people can show that they care about that, if anybody's listening to this interview and wants to know the secret sauce for interviewing with me, talk to me about what you've done and why you care about it and the so what in terms of what you've built.
Thank you for sharing that, Aaron. My next question is, for many years, you've been part of ThoughtWorks on leadership position. It's a big consultancy firm. Can you tell me how does ThoughtWorks differentiate itself from other consultancy companies like Accenture or Deloitte?
So I always used to call ThoughtWorks the Switzerland of tech companies in some ways. And ThoughtWorks is and was an amazing company that was literally seen as neutral in terms of kind of like what kind of technologies would we recommend. It would more often be open source technologies than not. And a lot of companies, for good reasons, will build themselves as a company that is about we're a partner to X tech company, and we're gonna kind of be very specialized in that. And we're gonna run our business from leads from that bigger tech company. ThoughtWorks felt like it was very principled, and through those principles could give better advice. So if you're a company that's mainly selling Oracle solutions, well, you're not gonna roll up and say, okay, well, we need this other kind of database because that's what's best for you. I'm sorry, I don't buy that as what would be a good consultant. So I felt like it was always a very principled company. They had and have this 3-pillar model, which is first, you need to run a profitable business. But then the second pillar was about just really being really great technologists, like leading technologists, creating new thought leadership for the world, which it's worked really well. And I can go into that, things like continuous delivery, continuous integration, lean enterprise were really groundbreaking things that have become just normalized in the industry. But third, they had this social justice pillar, which, when you're working for a company, and I think ThoughtWorks is like this, Salesforce is like this, and I believe New Relic is like this, that is working not just for, shareholders, which obviously you need to work for shareholders, but also is combining that with, are we creating a good social outcome? Are we creating the world that we want? And when you're working for a company that cares about that deeply, you engage people. And when people are engaged, they do their best work. People will do better work when they're intrinsically motivated than extrinsically motivated.